Something is happening in this room right now while we talk, and it won't stop wherever you go for the rest of your life. There's a light falling on you this very second that is older than the sun, older than the earth, older than the first star that ever burned. It's on your face, on the back of your neck, on the far wall, all at once. The same faint ancient glow from every direction, and it has been flying toward you since before there was a single atom in all creation. It is the oldest thing you will ever meet, and I want to know what it is.
What it is? Let me begin by claiming it, because you and I already made this light together last time. We just never followed it out the door. We wound the whole universe backward, all the way to the fireball. The hot, dense glare filling every corner of space at once, no center to it and no edge.
I remember the fireball. Hard to forget the night we squeezed the whole of creation down into one.
Then you'll remember what I told you at the good night, that the fireball didn't simply vanish when it cooled. Its glow was still on its way. Well, here it is. That light on your face is the afterglow of the fireball itself, still arriving after all this time.
The fireball, the one we cooled down together at the very end of last time. The whole of space packed hot and glowing, everywhere at once, with nowhere for it to be an explosion into. And you're telling me its glow is still landing on me tonight? That's the same fire reaching across all of it to here.
The same fire. Every direction you turn your head, the same faint glow still coming in. And it is, with no competition whatsoever, the oldest light there is. Nothing you will ever catch by any instrument anyone will ever build is older than the light I'm describing right now.
Then let me guess, because I'm fairly sure I've already got this one, the oldest light. That has to be the flash of the Big Bang itself, doesn't it? The bang going off, the very first instant. And we're only now finally seeing the light of it arrive from all that way back.
That's the guess everybody makes, and I'm genuinely fond of it, because it's wrong in the single most useful way a guess can be wrong. This is not the flash of the beginning. We cannot see the beginning, not with light, not ever, not with the finest eye anyone will ever grind. And the reason we can't is the whole beating heart of tonight, so I'm going to make you earn it.
Now, hang on, that stops me. You just called it the oldest light there is, older than the first atom. And in the same breath, you tell me it still isn't old enough to be the beginning. So where's the beginning gone? Something's been quietly stolen from me between those two sentences.
Something has. The beginning is hidden, walled off from us behind a fog. For a good long stretch at the very start, the universe was blind. You could not see across it, and no light could get out of it, and so whatever flash there was at the first is sealed away behind that fog for good. What we actually catch, the oldest light, is not the beginning. It's the morning the fog cleared.
A fog? In the entire universe? That's a strange pair of words to put side by side. I think of fog as a thing that hangs over a particular valley on a particular damp morning, not a thing that fills all of space.
And that's exactly why I have to take you into it first, slowly, before anything else. Because until you feel in your bones why the young universe was foggy, none of the rest of tonight will land where it's meant to. So come into the fog with me.
Gladly, though I'll warn you, the picture I've carried of the early universe is the flat opposite of foggy. It's blinding. You called it a fireball, and fire is the brightest thing I know. So how on earth is the brightest thing there ever was also a fog so thick you can't see across it? Bright and foggy feel like they should cancel out.
They feel that way because in our tidy little lives, bright and clear nearly always arrive together. A clear day is a bright one. But they're two entirely different things, and I can prove it with something you stare at all the time. The sun. Blinding, yes? The brightest thing in your whole sky by an enormous margin. Now tell me honestly, can you see into it? Down through the glare, into the middle, Out the far side.
No, never. It's a solid ball of blaze. You couldn't see a hand's breadth into a thing like that, let alone out the other side. And I've somehow never once found that strange.
And yet there is nothing solid in there to stop you. The sun is gas the whole way down. Nothing your hand couldn't pass straight through if it weren't for the small inconvenience of the heat. So why can't the light in the middle of it simply fly out to your eye? What's in its way, if not a wall?
I genuinely don't know. I've looked at that thing my whole life and never asked. I suppose I assumed too bright to look at was a full answer, and it clearly isn't the one you're after.
It isn't. The brightness isn't the barrier. The truth is that deep inside the sun, light can't travel in a straight line. It can barely travel at all. It's so ferociously hot down there that matter itself is torn to shreds. Every atom ripped clean apart into a bare nucleus and its loose, free electrons, all of them swimming about separately. Matter shredded like that even has a name. We call it a plasma.
Torn to shreds. So it's not gas, the way the air in this room is gas. The little atoms aren't just floating about whole, they're actually broken open, and their pieces are drifting around loose and apart from each other.
Broken clean open. And here's the one piece to plant deep, because everything grows from it. A loose, free electron is absolutely lethal to a beam of light. Light cannot get past one. It strikes the electron and ricochets off in some new direction, strikes the next and ricochets again, and again, and again. In a plasma, light doesn't travel anywhere. It caroms, bounces around forever, like a coin shaken in a tin.
So the light's all in there, floods of it, blinding. It simply can't ever get out. It's rattling around inside, taking a small eternity to cross a gap it ought to clear in the blink of an eye, because it can't take 2 steps in a row without smacking into another electron.
Blinding and blind at the very same time. It's true of any fire, the candle on your table too. You can't see through the flame to the wall behind it. The light's too busy bouncing to carry the picture through. And now take that little truth and blow it up until it fills absolutely everything there is. Because that, exactly that, is what the whole young universe was.
The whole thing, not a bright sun here and cool dark space over there, but that same blinding, blind plasma, wall to wall, with no cool dark anywhere to escape into.
Wall to wall, edge to edge, every corner of space packed with the searing stuff. Bare nuclei and free electrons everywhere, and every ray of light in creation caroming through it, unable to fly straight for more than a hair before it slammed into an electron and bounced away. A glowing fog with no clear patch in it anywhere, and no outside to it at all.
So the entire universe was the inside of the sun, everywhere, all at once. And if I'd somehow been standing in it, I wouldn't have been in darkness. I'd have been drowning in light and still unable to see a thing.
Drowning in light and stone blind in it. Not one ray reaching you in a straight line, so not one ray carrying you a picture of anything. Light coming at you from every side and telling you nothing at all. That is the strangest part for people to swallow. Blind, not for want of light, but from a helpless, blinding surplus of it.
And every scrap of that light is trapped. That's the word that keeps landing for me. Not shining out anywhere, just penned in, bouncing, going nowhere.
Trapped is precisely the word to keep. For hundreds of thousands of years, all the light in creation was penned in the fog, forbidden to fly free. And that is the whole reason we can never see the beginning. Whatever first flash there was is buried behind all those ages of trapped, bouncing light. No straight line runs from it to us. The fog is a wall built clean across the past.
Then something has to give, or you and I wouldn't be sitting here bathed in the stuff, would we? The light gets out somehow, the wall comes down. So what brings it down? What lets the light finally go free?
The same quiet thing that's been driving this entire story since the very first night we sat down together. Expansion. The universe keeps stretching, and as it stretches, it cools. The fireball dropping from fierce to merely furious to just terribly hot. And there comes a certain moment, a certain temperature, when at last it's cool enough for something completely new to happen in it.
Cool enough for what, though? What can happen at just terribly hot that couldn't happen a moment before when it was hotter still?
Cool enough for the electrons to finally be caught. Until now they've been far too hot, too wild, whipping about too fast for any nucleus to hold on to. Every time a nucleus grabbed one, the heat tore it straight back off. But cool the fog enough, and at last the nuclei can reach out, seize the passing electrons, and keep them. Electron latches onto nucleus, and for the first time in the history of everything, you have whole, settled, complete atoms.
The first atoms. The actual first atoms there ever were. So before that instant there weren't any atoms at all anywhere, just the loose parts, the bare nuclei and the free electrons, never quite managing to stay joined up.
Never quite managing. And the nuclei themselves, where those came from is its own fierce little story, from an even earlier fire, and I'll hand you that one at the very end tonight. For now, simply take them as already there, waiting in the fog, and now at last catching their electrons and settling into the two simplest atoms there are, and near enough nothing heavier.
The two simplest. So the newborn universe fills up with almost the plainest stuff imaginable, no fancy ingredients yet. Fine, but how does a bunch of atoms quietly forming solve anything about the light? The light was trapped by the loose electrons. What's changed for the light?
Everything's changed for the light, and this is the hinge the whole night swings on, so watch it turn. What made the fog? The loose, free electrons, the ones that batter light and send it caroming. And where are those loose electrons now?
Gone, caught. Every last one of them tucked up inside an atom, settled down, off the streets. So there's nothing left loose to batter the light with.
Nothing left loose. And an electron tucked snug inside a whole atom simply doesn't grab at passing light the way a naked free one did. A settled atom mostly just lets light sail straight through it, and through the next, and the next. So the very instant the electrons are caught and the atoms form, the fog that had blinded the universe for all those ages simply lifts.
Lifts. Like a morning mist burning off a field as the sun comes up. One moment you can't see past your own gate, and the next the whole valley's just there, laid open in front of you.
Exactly like that, only it's the entire cosmos doing it at once. One age, the universe is an opaque wall of glowing fog. A breath later, a few tens of thousands of years, but a breath as the universe counts time, it's clear, see-through from one end to the other. And for the first time ever, a ray of light can strike out in a straight line and simply keep going, with nothing left anywhere to bounce it.
And that first freed light, the very light that finally got to fly straight the instant the fog lifted after all those ages penned in.
Is the light on your face tonight? That's the whole answer to the question you carried in. The oldest light we can ever catch is the light set loose the morning the fog cleared and the universe turned transparent. Not the beginning, not the bang. The clearing, the moment the universe first opened its eyes and let its own glow go free.
So we're not looking at some vague dawn of everything. We're looking at one specific event with a place in the story. The morning the fog lifted. That's oddly comforting, actually. It's a real occasion, not a haze.
A real occasion, and it's even got a name. A slightly clumsy one. We call it the last scattering. Because that clearing was the very last time that light got scattered, the last bounce it would ever take off anything, before it flew free to us. Every scrap of that ancient glow touched matter for the final time right there, and hasn't so much as brushed against a thing since.
The last bounce. And then an unbroken flight, across the entire rest of the history of the universe, every year of it, until at last it fetches up against the back wall of this room, or the back of my own eye. That's a long, lonely trip to end on my retina.
A flight with your name written on it, begun before the first star was lit. And when people speak of the surface of last scattering, that clumsy phrase, that's the whole of what they mean. The moment, all round us, where the oldest light last touched anything at all. It's the deepest we can ever see into the past, the far wall of the visible world, and painted right on it, the face of the infant universe.
A surface fulfills doing something to me. It makes me picture an actual skin out there, a wall I could fly to and lay my hand against. Is there really a something at the edge of it all?
There's no skin to lay a hand on, but the word is honest all the same, so let the picture stand. Think what that wall truly is, the whole of space, cooling down through the temperature where it stops being foggy and turns clear, which is to say, a surface glowing the way the surface of a star glows. That is what the clearing was.
Say that one slower, because I think you've just walked something enormous past me. The edge of the baby photo glows like the surface of a star.
Like the surface of a star, wrapped clean around you on every side. Look at the sun, and you're seeing the very same thing in miniature. The one layer where its fog runs out and the light escapes to you. The last scattering is that layer, only it is the whole sky at once. We live inside a hollow star, in a way, gazing out at its glowing skin. Except the skin is the newborn universe, and what stands between us and it is not miles. It's time.
Now I have to push on the thing that's been quietly nagging me the whole way through because I still can't make it sit right. You keep saying it comes from every direction, up, down, sideways, all at once, and I can't picture how a light that was set free just the once, ages and ages ago, is somehow still turning up now, all around me. Surely it flew past long since. Surely it's gone.
The best question you could possibly ask, and its answer is the loveliest single turn in the whole story. You're picturing the clearing as a thing that happened at one place, over there, once, and then the light packed up and left. But the fog didn't clear at one place. Throw your mind straight back to the fireball again. Where was it?
Everywhere. That was the whole hard-won lesson of last time. The Big Bang wasn't a bomb in one spot. It was the whole of space, dense and hot, everywhere at once. No center and no edge. There was no over there for it to be because it was every there altogether.
So the fog was everywhere, and therefore the clearing was everywhere. The mist didn't burn off one field. It burned off across the whole of space at nearly the same moment, and light was set free from every single point there is, in every direction, all at once. Hold that firmly now, and think hard about what actually reaches your eye tonight.
All right, the light that cleared right here, right where I'm sitting, that flew off ages ago. That's long gone, off to be somebody else's ancient glow in some far-flung corner. It left before there was anyone here to catch it, so it can't be what's landing on me now.
It can't, so follow it through. If the light freed right here left long ago, then the glow arriving here now, this very second, where must it have set out from?
From somewhere far off. It'd have to be light that cleared a long way away, far enough that it's taken all this time, the whole age of the universe, to cross the gap and only now reach me. I'm not catching my own local fog lifting. I'm catching a distant one, whose news is only just arriving.
There it is. You've turned the key yourself. The glow reaching you tonight, set out from a great shell of space, sitting at just the right distance that its light, flying ever since its own clearing, lands on your eye at this exact instant.
One shell, at one exact distance, but you keep insisting every direction, not one.
Because the clearing happened in every direction alike, so there's a shell like that in every direction around you, above, below, and every side, each one showing you a far-off fog lifting, its light still sailing in. And tomorrow it's a shell a touch farther out, the flight one day longer. The glow never runs dry.
So I'm sitting dead at the center of an enormous sphere of arriving ancient light, a shell of the oldest glow there is, wrapped all the way round me, forever leaking gently inward from every side. That's a genuinely dizzying place to find myself sitting.
It is. But here's the piece you must not let slip, or you'll walk straight back into the old trap. You're not special for being at the center of it. Step next door, and your neighbor sits at the center of their sphere. Fly to the farthest galaxy anyone has ever glimpsed, and its people sit at the center of theirs. Everyone, everywhere, sits inside their own shell of arriving old light, because the light was let go everywhere at once, and everywhere is a middle.
And the light in my shell, it set out from a staggering way off, didn't it? Farther than any star, farther than any galaxy I could name.
Farther than anything else you will ever lay eyes on. It's the most distant sight there is, the light that has flown the longest to reach you, from the very brink of the visible. Every other far-off thing sits somewhere in front of it. Nothing lies beyond. Meet this glow, and you've looked as far out and as far back as looking can ever take you.
So we don't peer out at this thing, the way we'd swing a telescope round to find a star. We're in it. We sit inside it. It's not off on the horizon. It's here, in this room, passing through the pair of us as we talk.
Passing through you this instant. A thin, faint tide of it pouring through the room, through the walls, through your body, from every direction, every second of your life, and out the far side, on its way to somewhere it'll arrive an age from now. You are, right now, standing inside the afterglow of the fireball. We all are. We always have been, and never once noticed.
And that finally is why it can never come from a point. I keep wanting to ask you where it is. Point me at it. And the question just hasn't got an answer, has it? It isn't anywhere in particular. It's everywhere. Asking where the oldest light is like asking a fish which way the sea is.
Like asking a fish which way to the sea. That's it exactly, and it's the picture to guard with your life, because nearly every quick, careless telling of this gets it wrong. It never comes from a point, never from an edge, never from off in some one direction. It fills all of space, and we hang in the middle of it. The whole sky, every scrap of it, is the wall of the fog, seen from inside.
Then here's a thought that's just crept up on me and won't leave. If this glow pours in from every direction and fills the whole sky, it's up there right now, over our heads, mixed into the plain dark of an ordinary night. That black between the stars isn't empty at all, is it?
It is not. Every patch of black night sky you have ever gazed up into is soaked in this glow, streaming in from behind the stars. If your eyes could answer to microwaves the way they answer to daylight, there'd be no dark at all. The whole vault, every direction, would shine with a soft, even fire.
So the darkness of night is really a shortcoming of my own eyes. The fireball's afterglow is flooding the entire sky, top to bottom, and I simply can't see the colour it's been stretched down into.
You can't. It's pitched just below what your eyes were ever built to catch. But it's there, a gentle, universal glow behind everything, filling in every gap between the stars. The night only looks empty. It's brimming, right to the top, with the oldest light there is.
Let me tie this back to the very first night of the whole course because I've a feeling it's the same idea wearing its Sunday best. You told me then the night sky is a time machine. Look far out into space and you're looking far back in time because the light took all that while to arrive. Is this simply that same idea run all the way to its limit?
It's that same idea taken as far as light will ever allow it to be taken. Every time you look at something distant, you see it as it was when its light left. A nearby star as it stood years back. A far galaxy as it stood an age ago. Look farther, see further back.
So the natural question just walks up on its own. How far back can I possibly look?
How far back can you possibly look? The very question that ends the game. What's the single oldest thing the sky can ever show you?
And I'd have said, without hesitating, the first stars. The most distant, most ancient stars of all. That must be as far back as the road runs, because a star is the farthest off thing, bright enough to see.
That's as far back as starlight runs. But before the first star, there was a whole long age with no stars in it at all. Nothing yet built that could shine. And before even that, the fog. And you cannot see through the fog, ever.
So the road simply ends. You keep walking, back, and then a wall.
A wall. Look back past the galaxies, past the very first stars, and you run smack into the fog and stop dead. There's your edge again, the edge of everything light can ever show. Not the edge of the universe, but the edge of the visible.
And painted onto that wall is the baby photo. That's the phrase you've been circling all night, setting it down and picking it back up, never quite letting me have it. The universe's own baby picture.
There, now you've said it, so it's yours. The baby photo. A portrait of the entire universe as a newborn. Long before the first star, before the first galaxy, before it had built a single solid thing. Caught at the one instant it first turned clear enough to be photographed at all. Every direction you point, you are staring straight into the face of the infant cosmos, its own first light still arriving to show it to you.
A photograph of the universe as a baby that the universe took of itself and has been patiently posting to every eye and every instrument from every direction for the whole of time since. I genuinely need to sit in that one for a second because it's a lot to have handed to me over one evening.
Then sit in it. It has earned the silence. And know that people spent a long while not even suspecting the photo was there to be had, and then one day it simply turned up. A faint glow soaking in from every direction of the sky, with no star, no galaxy, nothing anywhere to account for it. Precisely how an afterglow of the fireball would have to look.
With nothing at all to make it. That must have been a strange thing to stumble on.
Stranger still to work out what it was. Because the day it was found, the whole grand story we'd only been guessing at suddenly had its portrait to prove it true. You can argue with a chain of reasoning all night. It's a good deal harder to argue with a photograph sitting in your hand.
Now I have to poke hard at the one thing that hasn't added up since the very top of the night because it's been sitting in my chest the whole time. You keep calling this light faint, a faint glow, a whisper, a hiss. But everything else you've told me is the flat opposite of faint. A furnace filling all of space, light so fierce it struck the whole universe blind. How does the most blinding light that ever existed reach me as a faint little whisper?
And there's the very last piece. You've been patient, letting it dangle all this while, so let me tie it off properly. When that light flew free at the clearing, it was exactly what you say it should be. Fierce, hot light, the raw glare of a furnace.
How fierce, though. Bright as staring into a fire, brighter.
Brighter than staring at the sun. Had your eye been there to catch it in that instant, it would have been searing, a brilliance flooding the whole sky, in every direction, hotter and whiter than the face of any star that would ever burn. At the start it was no whisper at all. It was a shout, the loudest light there has ever been.
So it leaves as blinding furnace light, a shout across the whole sky, and it turns up on my face as a cold little hiss. Something has clearly happened to it on the way. A very long journey's worth of something.
Something happened to it for the whole of the way. And it's the very same machinery you and I already sweated through together last season. The space that Einstein taught us can stretch. You remember the far galaxies, the way their light limps in reddened, stretched out by the growing of space while it was in flight. This is that identical trick, only run now for the longest time and across the longest distance there is.
The reddening. Light drawn out by space itself swelling underneath it as it flies. We flogged that one half to death. It's not the galaxies racing away through space like pebbles. It's the space between getting bigger, and the light wave riding on it getting stretched out longer right along with it.
You did learn it cleanly. I can retire happy. So take it all the way to the limit. This ancient light has been in flight since before the first star. The longest journey there has ever been, and the entire while, space itself has been stretching out beneath it. So the light has been stretched too, pulled longer and longer and longer without pause for the whole age of the universe.
And a wave pulled longer goes redder, I've at least kept hold of that. So it slides down from that furnace white toward red. But you said microwaves, and that's well past red. How far down this hill are we actually rolling?
An enormous way down it. This is no gentle nudge. Down out of furnace white, down through red, then straight past red altogether, out of anything your eye can catch, into the warm invisible, and further still, all the way down into the long, cool, sluggish ripples we call microwaves. The wave arrives many, many times longer than it set out. A shout drawn so thin across the width of the universe's whole life that what reaches you is barely anything at all.
So it's the same light, the very same furnace glow that blinded the newborn universe. It's just been drawn out, stretched thin, and stretched cold by all those ages of space quietly swelling underneath it while it flew.
The same light stretched down to a shadow of what it was. And here's the piece to hold with real care, because it's the one nearly everybody trips over. That glow did not begin cold. It was never some faint, cool light, emitted faintly and coolly and creeping in. It was born blazing, and it cooled because it stretched. The universe cooled as it grew, and this light, its oldest child, cooled hand in hand with it the whole way down.
So the faintness was never how it was born. The faintness is just the miles. The cold whisper I'm bathed in tonight is a furnace's shout from the newborn universe, drawn so unimaginably thin by so long a road that it lands on me as almost nothing at all. It's not a small sound, it's a huge one, very far away.
A huge sound, very far away, stretched to a hush. That's it precisely. And when people at last built instruments to listen for that hush, a faint microwave glow that ought to be soaking in from every direction if the fireball had ever truly been, they turned them to the sky, and there it was, waiting.
Just sitting there. All that time.
All that time. The same in every direction. A cold hiss from all around, with nothing in the heavens to make it. The furnace, still glowing, stretched cold, sitting exactly where the fireball had sworn it would sit.
So now we've genuinely got our hands on the baby photo. We point our instruments up, we read the glow off the whole of the sky, and we develop the picture. And I have to ask the obvious thing. What does it actually look like? What's in the universe's baby photo?
Here's the strange part. At first glance, almost nothing. The photo is very nearly, maddeningly, perfectly blank. Point your instrument at one patch of sky and read the glow off it. Then swing it round to the patch dead opposite, behind your head, the far side of everything, and read again. and the two match. The same glow, the same warmth, to a staggering fineness.
Only those two patches, or
Not only those two, every direction, top and bottom and all the way round, the same even glow to a whisker. The smoothest thing anyone has ever measured. If you could see it with bare eyes, the whole sky would be one flat, seamless wash of the very same shade.
I'll be honest, my very first reaction is that that sounds a bit of a letdown, a blank photo, all that build-up, the oldest light there is, the face of the infant cosmos, and you develop it and it's a flat grey wall, the same everywhere you look. Where's the drama in "it's all the same"?
I know exactly how it sounds. The dull answer, the anticlimax. But sit with it half a minute and it curdles from dull into nearly frightening. Because those two opposite patches of sky, one far off on your left and one far off on your right, think honestly about how far apart they truly are. They sit on opposite sides of everything we can see.
As far apart as two things in the sky can possibly be, then.
As far apart as anything can be. And here's the trouble that ought to raise the hair on the back of your neck. In the whole history of the universe, those two patches have never once been in touch.
Never in touch, meaning no light, no signal, no nudge of any kind has ever had time to cross the whole way from the one to the other. They're too far apart, and there hasn't been enough time since the start for anything at all to make that trip between them.
Nothing has made it. Not a ray of light, not a breath of heat. Nothing in all the time there's ever been. As far as either patch could possibly know, the other doesn't exist. They sit in wholly separate worlds that have never traded so much as a single flicker of warmth. And yet, you develop the photo and they're the same temperature. To a hair. Every last pair of opposite patches, right round the sky, the very same impossible story.
Now that is genuinely maddening, and I feel it in my teeth. It's as if I baked two loaves in two separate ovens, in two separate towns, and never once let one anywhere near the other. And they came out identical, crust for crust, to a fraction of a degree. I wouldn't call that a coincidence. I'd be dead certain somebody had crept round and set both ovens to match. Somebody must have.
You've laid your whole hand flat on the puzzle, and on precisely why it has kept people awake at night for a long, long time. It looks for all the world as though someone went round and set the ovens, as though the entire sky had been brought into agreement at some point.
But nobody could have gone round. There's no round to go and no time to have gone it in.
None. In the ordinary, honest history you and I have been telling all season, there was never a moment, and never a way, for the far opposite ends of the sky to have that conversation at all.
So how was it done? You've walked me right up to the lip of it, and now I want the answer. Who set the ovens? How does a whole sky agree on a temperature with itself when its two halves have never met?
And here's where I have to do the one thing you can't abide. I'm going to place the puzzle in your hands, and then flatly refuse to solve it tonight.
Oh, you are not. You've spent all evening handing me things. You don't get to hand me the biggest one and then whisk it away just as I reach for it.
I do, and I must, and only because the answer deserves better than a whisper. It's one of the boldest, strangest ideas in the whole of cosmology. An idea about something staggering the universe did in the very first sliver of an instant, long before anything in tonight's story even begins. And it has a whole night of its own further down this course, and it needs the whole night. Blurt it now, in a sentence, and I'll ruin it for you forever.
Fine, fine. But you know precisely what you're doing. You're leaving it lodged in me like a splinter, and you're not the least bit sorry.
Not the least bit. I'm counting on that splinter to carry you all the way to the night it comes out. Just take this shape of it up the stairs with you. The sky is too smooth, impossibly, suspiciously smooth. Far smoother than it has any right to be, given how little of it could ever have spoken to the rest. Let that itch, and we'll come back and pay it off in full when the time is right.
All right, splinter lodged, I'll stop clawing at it. But I want to double back and seize one word you slid quietly past me a moment ago, because I don't for 1 second believe it was an accident. You said the photo is very nearly perfectly smooth. Nearly. You've been leaning on that nearly, and I want to know what's hiding underneath it.
You've caught me, and you've a fine ear for the word I lean on. Nearly. Because when you look closer, far closer, much finer than that first flat glance, the glow turns out not to be perfectly even after all. The blank photo isn't quite blank. There are marks on it, the very faintest marks you could ever imagine. Ripples, freckles, patches a hair's breadth warmer here, a hair's breadth cooler there. A ghost of a mottling across that smooth, calm face.
Freckles on the baby's face. And how faint are we talking? Warmer, the way one room's a touch warmer than the next, or fainter than that?
Oh, fainter than that beyond all comparison. If the smoothness astonished you, these ripples are fainter than the smoothness by an enormous margin. You have to strain the finest instruments to their very edge even to catch that they're there at all. They're the merest whisper of unevenness on a face that is otherwise flawlessly calm. And they are, I'll say it plainly, the single most important thing in the entire photograph.
I could hear that coming from a mile off, the way you slowed down. The almost nothing freckles turn out to be the whole point. All right, I'll bite. How does a faint, warm smudge on an ancient photograph turn itself into anything, let alone the most important thing there is?
Because those freckles are the seeds of everything. Every galaxy, every star, every planet, every last thing there is. You, me, this room, all of it grew straight out of those tiny ripples. Follow it with me, one honest step at a time. A patch a hair warmer is a patch where the stuff of the universe is bunched a hair thicker, a touch denser than everything around it. Now, what does a little extra thickness do?
It pulls. Gravity. A slightly heavier patch tugs a little harder on all the stuff around it, and so it reels a bit more in. And then it's heavier still, so it pulls harder still, so it reels in yet more. Oh, I see where this runs. It's a wheel that only turns one way.
It's a runaway. The rich getting richer, and there's no break anywhere on it. Give it ages, the whole long age of the universe, and a patch that began just one single whisker denser than its neighbours has hauled itself into a vast clot of matter, heavy enough to kindle into stars, to gather into a galaxy, to draw together with its neighbours into whole shining cities of galaxies. All of it unspooling from one faint freckle on the baby's face.
So the ripples were never a flaw in the picture at all. They're the blueprint. Every lump and knot of structure in the whole universe was already drawn there, in seed, in those faint patches of warm and cool. The whole future sketched onto the newborn's face before it had done a single thing.
The blueprint, printed into the oldest light there is. Turn the baby photo one way, and it's a portrait of the newborn cosmos. Smooth, calm, near enough blank. Turn it the other way, read the faint freckles, and it's a map of everything that cosmos was about to become. The whole past and the whole future developed on a single sheet.
And I can feel you turning it over to the darker side of that thought.
I am, because it's the part that stops me cold. Imagine the photo had come out perfectly smooth, truly blank. Not one freckle anywhere.
Then nothing. No thick patches to run away with, so no clots, no stars, no galaxies, no worlds, and no you and no me sitting here talking about it. Just a thin, even, grey nothing, spread out flat and calm and utterly empty, forever.
Forever and dead. So we owe the entire furnished universe, every burning thing, every living thing, to the fact that the baby photo came out just faintly, imperfectly freckled. The most consequential imperfection there has ever been. And the wonder that never leaves me is that we get to read it directly. We aren't reconstructing the infant universe from clues left scattered about. We're looking it dead in the face, its own first light still arriving, close enough to make out the very freckles that grew into us.
Looking it dead in the face. So when we turn an instrument on that cold glow, we're not studying some model of the newborn universe, we're studying the newborn universe, the thing itself still sending.
The thing itself still sending, after the whole long age of the cosmos. No other science is handed that, the actual infant of its subject, laid open to be read. We caught the universe's very first light, and printed faintly across it our own first line.
Let me take stock a moment, because we've travelled an astonishing distance in one sitting. We opened a few nights back on nothing grander than a dark sky over an ordinary evening. And here we are, holding a photograph of the whole universe as a newborn, read straight out of a cold whisper of ancient light that is, as I say the words, passing clean through me.
From a dark sky to the baby photo, that's the arc of it, and it earns a moment of plain awe. The oldest light there is, the fireball's own afterglow, set free the morning the fog cleared and the first atoms formed, stretched cold across the entire age of the universe, arriving from every direction at once, smooth almost past believing, and freckled all over with the seeds of every galaxy that would ever burn. We photographed the universe in its cradle. That's not a small night's work.
And yet, I can feel you gathering yourself to say, and yet. You've that look. So go on, spoil my sense of completion.
You do know me by now. And yet, the baby photo is not the beginning. It's only the oldest thing we can see. The universe was already hundreds of thousands of years old on the day that picture was taken. Old enough to have cooled, old enough to have caught its electrons and made its first atoms. There's a whole chapter before the photograph. Hotter, wilder, hidden away completely behind the fog we could never see through.
Before the atoms. And you left me a thread to pull earlier. You said the atoms formed at the clearing, but the nuclei were already there, waiting, forged in an even earlier fire. That fire. That's the chapter before the photo, isn't it? The one we can't see but can still somehow reckon our way back to.
Wind the clock back from the clearing, back past the very first atoms, back through the whole depth of the fog, all the way into the universe's first few minutes, and you find it hotter than the heart of any star that will ever burn. The whole of space, every last corner of it, a single furnace, far too fierce for an atom to survive in for even an instant.
Too hot even to hold an atom together. So what in the world can a place like that possibly do, if it can't so much as keep an atom whole?
The one thing only the very fiercest furnaces can do: cook. In those first few minutes, with all of space hotter than the inside of any star, the universe forged its first ingredients, the raw nuclei those simplest atoms are built from, the primal stuff every later thing would be made out of. It had a sliver of time to do it, narrow as a single held breath, and then the window slammed shut and the cooking was over almost before it had begun.
The first few minutes of all existence and the entire universe is a furnace, cooking the first ingredients of everything that would ever be. That's the next place we're going, back behind the oldest light, into the fire that made the stuff the light would later set free.
That is exactly where we're going. Before the first light, before the first atom, the first 3 minutes of time, and the furnace that forged the very first ingredients of you.
Then I'll carry 2 things up the stairs tonight. The baby photo, the oldest light there is, falling on me from every side this second, the newborn universe still posting its own portrait to my door, and the splinter you drove into me. A sky far too smooth to explain, waiting on a night we've not yet reached. I'll bring them both back down, and next time, the furnace, the first 3 minutes, and the very first thing the universe ever made. I'll be down early. Good night.